Good evening, Ganeshan sir. Can you hear me? Sir, you are mute, I guess. You can unmute yourself.
Now am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you.
Lakshmi, I guess Balasubramaniam sir also joined, and Balasundaram sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Sure. Just wait for 1 or 2 minutes. 5:30 will start. Is it okay, Lakshmi?
Yeah, Sagar, please tell me.
Sure.
Just we'll start in 2 minutes.
Sure. Welcome, Rishi sir. Shirishs sir, welcome, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible. Good evening, Sahil.
Hello, hi, sir.
Good evening, Sagar. Sagar, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Yeah.
Okay.
So today, 11th November, we also have National Education Day. So it's our pleasure to have this panel discussion with education industry sector panelists. So that's one of the good flavor for us. Actually, it's also one of our activity for innovation cell. We also received a 5-star rating V School as by AICT of Ministry of Education.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
That's really amazing.
Congratulations.
That's really amazing.
Okay, we are the only business school in Maharashtra who are getting 5-star, and there is one more, which is a pure management education institute. And we are also mentoring 5 institutes for getting innovation entrepreneurship activities.
That's a great milestone. That's a great milestone, Sagar. Really happy for Belinkar and the entire team involved.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's all about our students. The students are doing many projects with entrepreneurship and innovation. So it's helping us because it's a both-way communication. So we are going ahead. So Lakshmi, can you start? It's 5:31.
Yes, Sagar, first we'll start with a video.
No, I will just give a small. Good evening, everyone. Today, on the occasion of National Education Day, we are pleased to welcome you all for We School We Inspire series on topic, the why, what, and how of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is always about execution of ideas. It is vital because it has the potential to raise the living standard and generate money not only for ourselves, the entrepreneur, but for the connected firms also. Though it is true that some people are born with entrepreneurial and commercial aptitude, but the latest IP of NICA has shown that entrepreneurship don't have the age limit or any educational qualification, but it's your spirit, it's your skill set which you are enhancing during the time period. I am sure we all have numerous questions in our mind why entrepreneurship is important in the modern world or economy. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? How does entrepreneurship add to the self as well as national income? To aid all these answers, today we have our distinguished speaker who are good entrepreneurs as well as immense entrepreneurial experience in their own way. Before we start the panel discussion, I will request IT team to please share the video of our V School campus. So IT team, please.
Yes.
Thank you, IT team, for the vSchool campus video. Before starting, let me introduce our esteemed panelists and moderators. Today's moderator. The first panelist is Mr. K. Ganeshan, co-founder of Finance Instead. He has over 19 years of teaching experience and 7 years of corporate experience. His interest in philosophy and psychology aptly manifests in his teaching. He has been training students for verbal ability, personal development to enhance the skills. The next panelist is Mr. Rishi Chaurasia, founder and director of Vikalp Education, who has 15 years of experience in aptitude and company-specific training program. He is keen in strategist and dynamic go-getter. The next panelist is Mr. Balasundar, our founder director at Balsus Success Academy, has 25 years of experience in educational services and training industry. Being a self-made person, mentors through a unique method of hitting hard on moving away from mediocrity through improving the attitude, knowledge, skills of the participant. The next panelist is Mr. Shirish M. Yadav, co-founder of My Postgrad, is qualified marketing professional with over 10 years of experience in major industries like education, construction, media, and entertainment. He strongly believes in creating robust processes and are result oriented. The next, our young entrepreneur, Mr. Sahil Javkar, founder of Edvicon Educare. He is passionate marketer and top performing professional with proven experience in planning and coordinating sales and marketing program. A charismatic personality with polished consultative question-based selling skills. Diversified skills include client relation, project management, administrative support, event management and organizations, digital and professional communication skills. I would also like to introduce our very own vSchool faculty, Professor Dr. Pradeep Pense sir, who will be moderating the session. He is in charge director for university program and chief technology officer at vSchool. With 34 years of teaching experience and had many consulting projects for corporates, he has a vast experience with IT tech as well as teaching and corporate. He also fellow of Computer Society of India, founder president of IIBA Mumbai chapter, proposed. Being on the IT committee of IMC, Bombay Chamber, ICA, etc., and many more. He has a vast profile in consulting with vSchool. Thank you. We are very delightful that Dr. Pense sir is always there to guide our students and always are there. We are also glad that you would like to hear today to share your insights and experience with us. But before starting, we also like to welcome Dr. Garima Sharma, who is an ARIA coordinator, Shruti ma'am, Amay Vengankar, Nagalakshmi, vSchool faculty, and dear students. So over to you, Pense sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and thanks, Sagar, for the introduction. Thanks, Garima ma'am and Nagalakshmi for all the support, and Amaya is always there. I think I think your team is fantastic, and you've been holding these events all the time. And thank you and welcome to all the panelists once again. I think it's indeed a privilege to be sharing the stage with all of you because you are out there and doing your bit in terms of contributing to careers in various ways. And I think you are the first step that probably students take before even they decide to join an MBA school or whatever. And that makes all the difference because the right choice in the career, I think, ensures success later on. So we are there, of course, to subsequently nurture them. But I think the topic given is very interesting, I think, and all of you are entrepreneurs because you've been running your own businesses. So the very first question that I would want to pose to all of you is, and we go in the same order that you were introduced, so that, just for the first round at least, subsequently we can sort of pitch in the way we want. But maybe you want to share your own motivation to start on your own, because that itself would be a learning for all of us. So how did you get into what you're doing right now, and at what point in your career or your life that you decided to make the break from your maybe a salaried job that you had, etc. So we may start with Mr. Ganeshan first.
Yeah, thank you. So am I clearly audible?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So my journey started with, it started with the corporate life. So I was into finance.
Mm-hmm.
So around 5 years, I served as an accounts consultant, and then gradually I discovered that that's not my field. A tipping point came when I discovered that's not my field. And then I sort of jumped out of it
Okay.
and joined an institution called Professional Tutorials. In the early 2000s, I did that. So there, quite strangely, I joined as a counselor. Then I realized I can teach. So then I started teaching. Then I got all the more interested in the profession of teaching because I like interacting with students and that kind of job. So that way it all started. So after teaching for some 15 years, then suddenly this idea came to my mind that we should have autonomy. In fact, I should have autonomy. And as a group, we are a group of 5 here at Cygnus Educate. So before we stumbled upon this idea, like I personally speaking had this idea of, like doing something in the way you would like to do something. But there was an opportunity cost. I was working and I was salaried, as you rightly said. So making a shift from a salaried thing to business at the age of, beyond 45 becomes a difficult choice because there's an opportunity cost involved. So that was a difficult decision, but at the end of the day, the idea was fine. In any case, we are going to teach. So it's like teach for yourself or teach for others. So we chose teach for yourself. That's one thing. So teaching being our passion. And fortunately, we got very good people with us, some 4 or 5, we got 4 more members who had similar thoughts, similar ideas, and to leverage and to give the best to the students. Before even we could think of money and turnover, it was more of teaching and less of turnover and all that. That's how it started in 2014. We started off.
Right.
So since then it has been we progressed really well. In the first year itself and second year itself, we had 300 plus students. So we were going well.
So I'll come back for more on that, but I think right now we'll just see the motivation and the trigger point first.
Trigger point was this.
Right.
Teaching in the way we would want to teach.
Right. And one is discovering what you don't like. That's one thing which you heard, and therefore you gave up the finance job.
Exactly.
And then you joined this particular organization as a counselor, not knowing whether you actually liked it or not. So it sounds like an accidental discovery that.
Yes, quite honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I think that's good for a starting. We now have Mr. Rishi Chaurasia to share his thoughts. What motivated you to get into this?
Good evening, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very similar to Ganeshan, sir, what sir has mentioned. And immediately after my first CAT score in 2004, I was with Career Launcher. So Career Launcher people has told me that you have a bit low score in your verbal ability. So let us try once again, and till the time just join us. So that is the way I started my career in Nagpur in Nandanvan Center. Since then, I was associated with Career Launcher, then Time, and then I was taking the various types of batches for quantitative ability and reasoning. But the most important thing is when I started Vikalp Education, that majorly triggered me that I also wanted to do something really which is lacking in my place. I belong to Nagpur at present, so I was lacking here the major quotient about the training part. So there we thought of starting up this organization, Vikalp Education, and then since last 6-7 years, 2014 we have started, and we have done a remarkable job by providing the training programs to various institutes. So the most important part is, again, I'm also being an accidental teacher, but entrepreneur has always been in my heart. I'm a born family member. All are entrepreneurs, so I need to be an entrepreneur. That is the way I can be. So I can survive. Yes.
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah. So one more additional facet to it, which how do you identify an opportunity? Because you saw an opportunity for what you were doing in Nagpur, and then of course you bring a background of business. I think, and a lot of our students here, I'm sure, have a family business and that sort of a background. So, Mr. Balsundar.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. I'm audible, sir.
Yeah.
Right, sir. I will just take it from Ganeshan sir and from Rishi sir. Something very similar. I was into a very happy corporate job, flying everywhere with so-called Kingfisher at that particular time, happily growing an organization. But then one small incident happened. I was working in Bangalore and I happened to watch a program in one of the theater wherein a young person of age 15, and it really shook me. So I was just thinking, why am I talking about entrepreneurship? Why don't I do it? The next day I put my papers and my CEO said, best of luck. So I came to Madurai, that's my hometown, and just started. So it was a knee-jerk reaction. My father comes from defense background. Absolutely no to entrepreneurship, exactly opposite to what Rishi sir said. Nobody in my life, even my wife and everybody, in-laws, everybody was against. First level of people were not with me. I had my first daughter at that particular time. So difficult days, but then that knee-jerk reaction, and I'm happy today and no regrets in life.
Very nice. I think so. Some external factor sort of triggered your interest in entrepreneurship. Very nice. Yeah. Thank you so much. Let me now shift to Mr. Shirish Yadav.
Hello, sir. A very good evening to all of you, especially all the amazing people who have joined this session along with me. A few things, I believe I'm quite the youngest among all of you to be here, but I all the experiences that you're sharing will not only benefit the students, but me as well. So, I'm really happy to be here. So my story is quite out of the ordinary. So first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Shirish Yadav, carrying almost 10 plus years of experience now. My career started after MMS, and I joined an education industry by the name IMS. I am not a faculty. I'm not at all into teaching. I'm a marketing professional, something that I enjoy all the time. So after spending quite a long time with IMS for almost 7 to 8 years, it was, I think, counseling students, guiding students somehow got into my veins, and I couldn't get it off. Okay, I tried various ways by which shifting. So I also take care of, I do take care of marketing for and support certain. As a consultant, I help construction and media and entertainment companies for the digital marketing activities, which I do as a freelancer, or I support them. But my foot and my expertise have always been in, or my happiness has been in education industry. So being a non-teacher at all, as a marketing professional, starting off as an institute was something that everyone was against. Okay, why? Once that will again add a lot of costs. So there are a lot of operational costs involved, a lot of faculty costs involved, which I will have to do. I could not mitigate those costs. So, but still there was a thrill that there was a segment. So what triggered basically was I saw a segment. I basically, my institute is in Navi Mumbai. We have two institutes, one in Nerul and Panvel. What I saw that there was one segment of the students that was untapped, or rather I would say untapped. They were not guided. Okay, so Navi Mumbai is the crowd is very different as compared to Mumbai students. Okay, so there was a chunk of students who needed guidance, and somehow they could not. Not a lot of institutes could not reach to them. So with IMS, I was able to touch them on a very small scale. I wanted to reach out to them completely, and that's what triggered the emotion. No, I need to venture into something like an institute of my own, where I will have the liberty and the freedom to reach out to any student in Navi Mumbai and beyond. Okay, where they think that these institutes won't be able to reach. So that was the whole idea. And in 2019, we started with my post guides. This is the third year. Through ups and downs during COVID, and through the support of well-wishers, somehow we have ventured till here. This is my second year with Wellinkers. Last year it was amazing when I attended this similar session. I'm happy that Wellinkar has given me an opportunity once again to be here. We'll try to share all the experience that I have, and all the good things and all the bad things that we as an entrepreneur go through, that will help students identify the right way ahead. And thank you once again, everyone, for having me here.
Thanks for sharing that. I think very inspiring story. And Sahil?
Good evening, sir. Am I audible to you?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, students. Good evening, my team panel guests. Firstly, it's my pleasure that Wellinkar has given an invitation for a young entrepreneur like me. So to share a stage with all the senior people in the house, it's an honor for me as well. So to give you a background about me, my name is Sahil Thakur. I've done my MBA from NMS. I'm a recently graduated NMM back in the year 2019. I've worked with corporates like Tata, Trent, and Future Group into the strategy and consulting domain. If I have to share my experience in terms of ethics space, when I was a student, I actually was learning from a company named as MBAP Educare. MBAP Educare, I was a student there itself, and there was a mentor mission by name Abhijit Singh. So being having that blood of being an entrepreneur, it was always my vision to do something and to learn something, enthusiastic about learning. So I was basically a third student over there. So right from being the third student, growing up with them, so I started with them back in the year 2016. From 2016 till 2021. I was continuously associated with them into the senior management team, learning lots and lots of skills from them. Having trained for almost all students for almost now 6 to 7 years, I was always interested about getting into business. But my dad being a chartered accountant and the CFO of a public limited company, again coming from a middle class family, always the sense of security that every family needs. My child should get the fixed salary on the first month of the first date of the month. So that was a very typical mentality, but I feel lucky that my family has allowed me to actually follow my passion. At the age of 26, leaving a lucrative salary and allowing me to enjoy my passion and have an ethic industry experience. So here I am with a new company under the brand name Edvicon Educare. So in terms of brand name, yes, we are new, but we are a group of people, faculties across Bombay and Pan India, with all faculties with a combined experience of 200 plus years. So I feel obliged to be here. Thank you, sir.
Very nice. So actually, we heard a good story of somebody who's just passed out recently, and I think both Shirish and Sahil, I think, are inspirations for these younger students now. So if they're thinking that they have to necessarily spend 10 years in a company, I think that's not true. They can start as early as they wish to. So coming to the, since all of you are, of course, you've probably coached a lot of students, and every year you see so many students pass through you. What is it that you think which makes this entire entrepreneurial journey worth for an MBA aspirant or an MBA student? Is it really worth it? I mean, you've gone through all of this. How some of you have mentioned, of course, that the independence and the autonomy is something which makes you feel happy about it. But why in today's context? Because maybe you are all luckily in one type of a business, but there are startups in all kinds of areas. And I think I have students here from the healthcare batch. And given the COVID situation, we've seen a lot of startups, including social startups that have come up, particularly in the last couple of years. So what is it that you see as exciting about entrepreneurship and the scope for entrepreneurship? Is it really worth it after a certain number of years? Because you are constantly comparing with your batchmates and things like that. And you find that your batchmates are getting ahead in terms of salary, designations, and things like that. And then you seem to be left behind. And so what is it that makes it so exciting to be an entrepreneur? Now it's open to anyone. Yeah, please.
May I?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
You can just raise your hand and start speaking. There's no problem. Okay.
Like one thing I find, as you rightly said, that in the initial years, the package, the salary package would be higher for those who have joined new companies and all. Those would be paying them higher salary packages, and therefore, I mean, the new startup entrepreneurs may find themselves left behind. But what they should understand, I feel, is like there is scalability in business. Scalability, as in 3 years down the line, there's a general principle: 1,000 days there is no profit. 1,000 days, no profit. I mean, I'm talking about the education sector, but generally speaking, it applies to different industries in different ways. It could be 1,000 days, it could be 5 years for somebody, it could be 10 years for somebody, depending upon the strength, resilience to stay. Right. So if the person has the patience to stay, then only the person should enter into business. Otherwise, better stay away, because I mean, the person will lose patience and break down. Right. So the ability to take risk is prime, and scalability is the advantage. the business can always has a scope to go up. And I mean, God willing, one day he will beat all the pay packets in the industry. That scalability is there, which is not available in the private industry. This I'm talking about the advantage part. There are cons involved. Then others can speak about it.
Yeah, sure. Yes, Bala.
Sir.
Yeah.
In the last 15 years of coaching students, I predominantly coach students for CAT, and then we have this question like, why MBA, right? And many of these students commonly come up with this gyan saying, entrepreneur banna, I want to become an entrepreneur, things like that. So I track these people and tell them, okay, work on this. What if you're given an opportunity to become an entrepreneur? Why don't you make it as a true thing in your life? Today, out of the 5,000 alumni I have, there are close to 300 plus entrepreneurs whom I brought out of B schools or out of their first job, and they are happy entrepreneurs here. Trying to live what they say and showing them the opportunity, it is available and you can do it, itself is a great motivation. Obviously, there are a lot of factors and forces around us which works, but it's very much available. And today, the ecosystem is so much happy to accept a lot of entrepreneurs. So that's my thought on it, sir.
Oh, very nice. So you keep track of the students who have passed out, and you're in touch with some of them, is it, all the time?
Close to 3,000 plus are in touch with me on a regular basis. 5,000 plus alumni are there we have alumni meet every 2 years. We just had it one now.
Yeah, because then you can keep infusing more energy in them in terms of the right time to break out and all that.
True, sir.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Rishi.
I just wanted to add one important point here, what other speakers are saying. Being an entrepreneur, I believe you need a few important qualities, which basically is the key thing to succeed. Where we have seen the ups and downs, the COVID has changed the entire world. So what I found is when I compare myself is the most important thing towards being a successful entrepreneur, you need to be passionate about your work. Until unless if you are passionate, doing a job for someone else and then doing a job for yourself has a quite difference. So if you are passionate about the work which you are doing it, then second thing I believe is you should be very, very patient enough. Otherwise, the Ganeshan sir has said the 1,000 days, the myth that we generally in the education industry, we say this. But parallelly, I believe this patience is very, very keen here. Sometimes you may get success bit early. In my case, I got success bit early, but similarly, some failures also came comparatively as early as the success generally comes. So patience is again the key thing. And the third most important thing is how much you know your business, how much you know yourself. That makes you a successful entrepreneur. Otherwise, what will happen if you are not consistent with your policy, your understanding? It will lead to a failure in near future. Just a simple example after COVID. Before COVID, our entire education industry was different. Today, it's altogether different. So in last 1.5 years, we have come up with the changes, and then probably because I was in Mumbai, I used to do these activities and I was pretty much aware about these technologies. So I could survive. I could do it, and I'm doing it much in a better way as compared to the previously, but when I was doing in pre-COVID. So that is where the passion comes to your picture. So I believe these qualities will be the most important thing for any entrepreneurs.
Right, thanks. Shirish, I have a slightly different question for you actually, and I'll come back to Sahil in a moment.
Sure.
Since you come from a marketing background, you didn't have the skill that is required. I think just now we heard somebody started. So when you think that entrepreneurship is exciting, but you don't necessarily have the skill required for that, or the knowledge of business, as Rishi said. So how do you deal with such a situation? And because I'm asking this because even students on the campus, for example, have brilliant ideas, but they don't necessarily have the skills to execute those.
Right.
So what is based on your experience, how would you explain them how you should get these sort of, how do you bridge the gaps, so to speak?
Sure. So one thing was the reason why I was able to start my postgrad was because I worked with IMS, which was into similar industry, into training students for MBA entrance exams. Okay, so that was one experience. which and good thing was, since I was looking after marketing for the entire region, Mumbai and Pune, Mumbai region, basically Mumbai and Navi Mumbai region, I was able to learn. I was majorly involved in operations marketing across the city. So I was able to understand. I was aware about the entire processes very well. After spending 7 years with IMS, I was able to learn those things very well. And working from the corporate office, I could also understand and connect with a lot of faculties and others and understand how they work. So one thing that I was which I do or even did was I was a good observer. I observed what others were doing and how they were operating. Okay, and that was one thing. Now, from as a marketing profession and then handling an institute, how what made me decide to do that? Uh, One is, if you're not good with in terms of a business, if you have an idea and if you think that you're not the executor, then you have to be one thing. There's one thing that you need to be good at is managing people. Okay, and if you're able to do that, okay, then you, in spite of the fact that you may have to outsource that particular service to someone, you are still able to manage those people. So it's fundamental. So what we learn in management, was, if a manager, what he does is about managing other people. So as long as you're able to do that, okay, I don't think there is nothing stopping you from doing any kind of business. Okay, so you know how to outsource, you know how to delegate. So one thing which I enjoy is delegation. I really enjoy delegation. So I don't even mind giving opportunity to a new candidate who has just graduated to work with me. I give him obligations, I give him responsibilities, and I get things done from him. So that is one thing. Delegation is something you need to learn. Okay, it's not easy. It may sound like very easy, but delegation is something you have to trust that person in totality and expect and also have the results coming from him or her. So that is one thing that somehow I was able to learn, and I think that is one thing that motivated me to, start a venture of my own and somehow get things done from other. As far as marketing is concerned, I always get thrilled every day. I wake up, I enjoy. There is new trends coming in marketing. To all the marketing professionals out there who are listening to me, please gear up. If you think that if that marketing is easy, it's not. Be creative, be stay updated. Okay, because as an entrepreneur, one thing that I will strongly tell everyone, you have to keep two things in hand. One is marketing, and the second and the most important thing is sales. Okay, it has to be directly under you. You cannot think that sales will be done by someone else. It has. If you can't sell your product, nobody else can.
Sure.
So one thing so this is my short experience of 3 to 4 years as an entrepreneur. I hope that it will add some value to
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think maybe all the panelists can hold that point in mind. I'll come back to this point again, but let me first hear Sahil. I think he had something to say about the earlier question.
Yes, sir. So in addition to what Rishi sir said, that was going to be my first point. Passion is something which I believe is extremely important, because again, when you talk about salaries, when you talk about good salaries, so most of the MBA people get that opportunity to have work with top brands in the country. The point at which when you realize that we actually have passion towards something. So teaching is something which I love. Teaching which is something which I've been doing since last 6 years. So it's a passion towards it. So when I wake up the next morning, if I have an 8 a.m. lecture, it's not I have to get up the next morning. It happens inside. It happens from inside. So passion is something which is going to be extremely important. The next 2 pointers which I have to say, which I have learned in the initial stage being a young entrepreneur, is the risk from when you decide you want to be an entrepreneur at a very young age, the risk has always to be calculated. Calculated risk is something which I believe is going to be extremely important part, because there are lots of entrepreneurs who try to go all out in the initial days at a very young age, and then falls in some or other traps, and then they have long debts on them or some or other thing, but they're not able to cover up. So the risk always has to be calculated. And the most important thing, being a sports person also and being an entrepreneur, which I have learned, is the acceptance to failure. Failure are going to happen. And the person, so till the time we do not fail, we are not going to be something which might make us stand out of the people. So acceptance to failure is going to be extremely crucial for everyone. And even in our batch and in our generation of people, the failure to acceptance is going to be extremely key, because there's going to be disappointment. And how do you react to it? Whether you get back on it, or do you say, okay, it was one failure, I learn out from my things, and then I get up to it, stand up and do it. So that's going to be an extremely key factor when you talk about being an entrepreneur at a very young age, because we do not get, young people usually say it's not happening, we get frustrated. There are lots of people who get angry when the things do not go as per them. But all the senior people always have the right advice for us. It's about have patience. Mistakes will happen. No one is going to succeed over a period of a night. But yes, it's a long way process. It's a process which always has to be followed. And being an entrepreneur, you should always focus on being a process oriented company rather than being a people oriented company. So that's what my say on this is.
Okay, great. So yeah, I understand passion. I understand that failure. I think a couple of people mentioned this, and the ability to be able to survive that failure. But the question is there anybody here who has a specific experience where you had to pivot your business, in the sense, many a times I've seen those who have ultimately succeeded in some business have actually done half a dozen different businesses before they reached this particular business. So maybe you were simply lucky that the very first thing that you did, it succeeded, but is there any experience around the table, or maybe even any other example that you want to give?
I would like to add something. Yeah. So, so basically, initially, I did wanted to venture into starting a digital marketing agency of my own. Okay, because marketing was something which I enjoyed and I had my feet in. So I always wanted an agency of my own, because I enjoy the thrill of event management, enjoy the thrill of running a new campaign for various industries. So that is something that I wanted to venture into. So it did start off. Okay, I will not be able to tell the name of the company, but it did start off for a couple of months. You can say at least for 6 to 9 months. Okay, and the challenges were immense. The competition was immense, and something that was something I could not drive efficiently for various reasons in 2018. And what drove me away from that particular experience was perhaps that when I was operating as a marketing professional and I'm driving things as an agency, they are very different. Okay, so perhaps what I lacked was experience. So one thing, so the reason why I'm successful with MPG as a brand is because I had that 7 years of experience. So that helped me in many ways. But lacking experience in terms of running an agency was something that was a very big setback for me, and that's why perhaps I was not able to run it for more than 9 months, and then I had to shut it down and venture into something which I was good at. So to conclude the statement, I will say one thing: there is always this one skill that you have that you are very confident about. Explore that. You cannot be good at everything, but there is one thing that you're good at. Then ensure that you become better at it and you become best at it, and then you'll start seeing things more clearly than before. Yeah.
Right. Also, it's about not about your personal skills, but it's about a business opportunity that you're looking at. So your willingness to look at opportunities, and because just today I was reading in Economic Times the Nykaa founder. So she came from a banking domain, and she's such a huge success in a completely different category, and that too at an IPO level and all that. So it's it has nothing to do necessarily with your past background, but and she was a finance person. Mostly, I think finance would tend to be back office people, actually, in a sense.
Right.
But she could also succeed. And why I'm stating this, because a lot of our students also do back-end jobs of various kinds in companies, and it's not as if they will never succeed in entrepreneurship, because as we heard, that marketing is important and understanding customers is important. But at the same time, you can develop an interest in customers in any discipline, even if your current experience doesn't require you to do it. So,
right. So that's to just reiterate what I just said, because rephrase what I just said. It's like, so the story differs from every individual. So every entrepreneur will give you a very different story. Okay, what something that worked for me may not work for someone else, and something that worked for them may not work for me. So entrepreneurs have to be very adaptive. Be very adaptive to whatever comes your way. Adapt and have a learning attitude, and learn from those and keep growing. Yeah. So as rightly said by.
Right. So a direct question now about what you are doing currently, and since you are seeing students all the time, can you be able to tell us how do you identify when I'm, let's say, I think Mr. Bala said he is probably in touch with 3,000 alumni, etc. So how do you sense that this guy will get into an entrepreneurial mode someday? Is there anything which as his attributes of a typical student or an aspirant, which you are now with your experience able to identify? And if you could share that, okay, what stands out among these people who finally land up doing their own thing?
May I?
Yeah, please.
Right, sir. Fortunately, I get to live a 1 year of journey at least with a student whosoever comes into my institution. In this 1 year, there are many instances where I personally sit with the student, talk to them, not on the academics or the mock CAT scores, but generally on how does he see the society, what are the pain points he has or his parents has, what is this that is called the anguishness which he carries towards the society. And that is when I start understanding he is not complaining generally, but he's also seeing he has a solution which he wants to provide, or he at least has a thought, or he at least feels that something can be done. That's the prime thing. He may not have a great idea or a business plan, but he feels that something has to be done. I see that spark, and then I keep feeding him information, thoughts, probably curtail a specific MBA from him, dovetail it and give it to him sometimes. It happens with girls also. Many times they show that. But there are other people who are not comfortable about talking these areas because they move in very general spaces. So from that particular crowd, if I have to pull for such people, during my discussions, it's very easy to point out 1 or 2 or 10 from each batch of 100 who will eventually move towards entrepreneurship because that's what is ringing in their mind. Ki kuch karna hai. There has to be something which has to be done. Or either I do it or somebody has to do it, or why this person is not allowed in the society, why this is not happening. He's questioning again and again things. So that is one spark which I probably write it down and then keep chasing him for that.
Excellent. That's the curiosity, and I think and the willingness to take a risk and do something. So change the world kind of a thing. Yeah, great. Anybody else wants to add to that? So in a class of 60, you're seeing, let's say in your current batch, will you be able to pinpoint, or this guy will end up starting? I mean, that's the question.
Adding to what Bala sir said, it's only through personal mentoring that we are able to do that. Straight away, we cannot pinpoint in a classroom. But yes, we get a gut feel at best. But when we have a personal interaction with the students, then we get to know them better. And there are certain questionnaire formats also. And then beyond the formats, we have to dig deeper into it. At a philosophical level, sometimes we have an interaction. At a psychological level, we have an interaction with the students. And the deeper we go into it, the students themselves do not know what they are capable of at many times.
Right.
So what happens over a period of 6-7 months is like their capability unleashes, it comes out. And that's the right time to make them realize, okay, if you're good for business, this is what you're good at. Many times they do realize like they are better cut out for advertising. So they're better suitable for MICA than doing their own businesses. That can also be the thing. Like it's not like they're only tailor-made for business.
Right.
So whatever happens, it happens as a result of personal mentoring interaction over a period of time. 6-7 months, we are able to come to some sort of conclusion, which benefits the students the best. And they do not jump to a conclusion and take a decision. Right. So that's how we help them realize their potential, and they also open up and share their part of peace of mind.
Just to add to that, how I identify is when I get exhausted answering that questions, I realize this person has the potential.
Okay.
So that is how I identify them. So when I feel that I'm exhausted, I cannot answer his questions further. That's when I realize, okay, this guy has the potential, and that's not just one time, that's consistent. So every time I visit the center, I see his face looking at me for more answers. So the day I realize, okay, I'm exhausted. So that's how I'm able to identify, okay, this guy has the thrill. He has the will to do something out of the ordinary. And then I give some attention to him and I guide him.
So it's not necessarily certain attributes that you're looking at, but it's a mix of both a certain spark and curiosity and interest
So
and
yeah, absolutely. So in terms of aptitude,
process, as Bala and Ganeshan said. Yeah, so
right.
great. Otherwise, next question I was going to ask you, will you, looking at my face, tell me whether I will start up on my own? You know? So I think you would have already given up on me because I've already spent 25 years in Wellinger. So this guy is never going to start, you know. So
You can be the next Naya, sir.
yeah, it's never too late to start, right?
True,
So,
sir.
but on the other hand, nobody mentioned it in the introduction, but I ran a software company for nearly 15 years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
then,
Kudos.
yeah.
Kudos, sir. Kudos.
Yeah. So, and like all of you shared, I think when I quit my job, you know, that it used to be nightmarish on the 30th of the month because that check is not going to come, you know. So it took time to get used to it. After that, I was almost having almost 100 employees with me and all of that. So,
Wow,
great experience. So,
that's really.
but anyway, so
I think students have the right resource at the institute itself.
yeah, but I mean, we don't interact so much many a times on these. But because I take a point from what both of you, Bala and Ganeshan, said, that I think that mentoring and constant. But again, in mentoring, one of the things that my experience is that also I think as a teacher, all of you will have the same. That some students will come back and ask questions, like you know, Shirish also said. So there are some who will not, and therefore mentoring can't happen if they don't come up to you. Then how can mentoring? You can't force it on somebody, you know. So that's the other flip side of mentoring that we are seeing. So the more people do that, I think that's what you're advocating to the students.
Yes.
That the more that you go and talk to people, ask questions, that's when curiosity gets aroused, and you also end up doing something good. It need not be entrepreneurship, but anything for your good also. I think it's important. So the other question I had was, so on coming back to that point on skills now, you know, many times now this group of students, for example, under our innovation entrepreneurship cell, etc., we incubate some people, etc., and we allow them to try. Now the challenge many of them will face is, I have an idea, but I am a BCom student or a BA student, and I have no technology skill. Even in your edtech, education world, there is a lot of edtech companies where technology is involved, which you may know the business side of it, but you don't understand anything about technology. So how, I'm coming back to the same question, how do you bridge that gap? How would a student typically want to bridge that gap within the campus? Because he doesn't have the liberty of getting outsiders involved in his project. So anyone could answer that.
Shall I try, sir?
Hi, Dr. Deepa is there. So. Yeah, please, Mr. Bala.
Right, sir. So the question is, how does a student bridge his ambition versus the technology versus the opportunity available in the B school, right, sir? I'll take few cases which I have handled in the last few recent years, right? A student very, very passionate about technology wants to get into a B school. So when I was talking to him before he gets into B school, I was telling him what he should do in a B school, besides obviously the rigor academics which he has, so that he practices something, a miniature of his entrepreneurship in a B school itself, without the designation, without the money part, without the other forces. Now the part is, we all know networking is a key. Ability to give without expecting is a key. Lot of other things which we all know basics. I told him, why don't you start helping people with your technology knowledge, whatever you have, in terms of your group, so that they see a resultant and a productive thing happening because of you being a member of the team. Once you do that, also start networking among your friends and see in his father's company, relatives' company, somebody who's an entrepreneur in their family, do they want such expertise? Can you give them over a phone a 1 hour KT, knowledge transfer about how it can be done? Because I'm sure many of the classmates will have chachas and mamas who's doing some business here and there. So can you reach out to them? because they may not have the money to go to a consultant. They may not have the wherewithal to hire a digital marketing. So can you share with them? In your free time, can you do that? Can you start seeing that your skills have been appreciated and you're updated with the technology? So by doing that, obviously he gets the best internship, obviously moves into best placement, and obviously he sees that he's not fitting into placement, he comes out immediately. This is one recent example which I wanted to share, sir.
Right. So I think I must also mention one example of a guy called Tito, who was one of our ex-students. I don't know if some of you know him, but he ended up starting a company called Programming Hub, and which teaches language online, etc., programming languages. And he was my student, incidentally, from the business program. And he used to go and talk to every faculty member on campus and ask them questions about how can I make this idea successful. So he wanted to create this app which will help you learn, let's say, Python or some such thing, and how do you make it successful. So some of the thoughts that we had is go around, talk to engineering colleges and sell this idea to them. All those sort of ideas would come to him. And he was more of a marketing guy, but he brought in his engineering batchmates who were not doing MBA, and they came together and formed this company. And silently for 2 years, they had been working on doing this. And I think our students have probably heard him speak in one of the forums sometime. But that's a great example to talk about, at least in vSchool itself. My take on this is, as you rightly said, that you need to probe into how will you do something while you're on campus. And two things that you will do: you'll network, you'll talk to people, you'll ask questions, and also contribute in various ways, because that develops your passion and develops your entrepreneurship, so to speak. Deepa, you want to say something?
No, sir, I think
Yeah.
that's pretty good. But maybe one of the things you want to say is we have this interesting initiative called the Global Citizen Leader Program.
Yeah.
And also the fact that, there is, and I'm glad that the students are going to be coming to campus really soon. So we also have a REDX lab, which helps people to not just ideate, but take it from the drawing board right up to go-to-market kind of a situation. And we've this Global Citizen Leader Program that we have actually been has encouraged students, whether they are from a technology background or any other, to actually put their ideas into action. And I think they have taken it to the corporates, and that has really helped boosting their own confidence level. I can still remember one of the students who spoke about inclusive banking, and then you had the Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking about actually Jan Dhan Yojana, and a lot of what those students had studied and what they believed that can happen happened through this. So I think it gives the students a sense of confidence that they're thinking in the right direction, and that they're able to apply their thought process, and what they think can become a reality. So I think those opportunities are something that are very precious.
Right. Yeah, even in the healthcare space last year, we saw a lot of ideas that came matched to what was done outside, actually. So I'll throw it open to the audience also, because I think students must be waiting to ask questions. So let's see if there are any questions for the panel, and I can see at least 2 or 3 points somewhere, I think. Sagar, you're seeing anything?
So actually, I think the majority of the questions are clear from your end, because the moderation done so perfectly, but not more questions over here.
Okay, fair enough. But students, feel free to ask something, post it on the Q&A. Right, we are still chatting for a few more minutes. So, the last point I would want to say is, from a discussion perspective for the panel, is how do you, you are in a education space, ed tech space, and you have before you the likes of Byju's of the world and things like that. Does it sometimes worry you that, where you are, and how does it either inspire you or worry you, and what do you do about it?
I think we are blessed with a very large population.
Okay.
So I don't think we have to worry. I think that answers it all. Means we in spite of having such giants in the country, I still say a huge portion of the population still untouched. So I think we are blessed with a very good population. So I think we should all be happy about this, at least, that we will still be able to reach out to them where Byju's and others won't be able to.
Right.
Talking about the psychological quotient, I feel that those organizations are so big that we know that we are not in any competition with them. So we are there to do our business, they are there to do theirs. So it's like that kind of equation.
Okay.
In addition to the point that Ganeshan sir and Seth sir have said, pillars, market leaders and pillars like Byju's actually set an example for young entrepreneurs like us. The approach of mine specifically to them is, if they bring something creative, it challenges me to be more creative on my marketing side, or be more business develop, more have working more on the business development part. So that's something that definitely motivates us. And no one 5 years down the back, 5 years back road imagined a tech company becoming a title sponsor for an Indian cricket team. So when such examples have been set, it definitely inspires a lot of us. And there will be lots of entrepreneurs even in our audience today who might have something 10 years down the line that becomes again a title sponsor for something bigger than an Indian cricket team. So that this is something definitely that motivates us. Sir.
Yeah, I think.
I wanted to add, sir, one
please, yeah.
Like, I believe Byju's and the other edutech companies, specifically on academies and the other ventures, whatever the like innovation they want, they have to do, they have already done it. So now they are in a freeze of buying a company. So I believe they are also lacking with the innovative ideas which probably they had come up with in the initial stages. So as your question, that does it worry you? So I believe we have the strength of our strength, that is, there's an individual that what we can deliver. So I don't need to say that, like, we should not need to be worried, as Shirishs has already perfectly said, that we are blessed with the large population and immense opportunity available in this sector, and this is the one of the undoubtedly be the most important segment. And Byju's and these companies will be there. We will also be working in our space, and we will be also comfortably making our availability to the markets available.
Right.
Just adding to Shirish's point, what I also believe on, and what I also have inspired from a lot of people, is we should always try to play on our strengths. Competitors are going to do their work. Competitors are going to become huge. They might turn away at any given stage. But if we believe on our strengths, and if we keep on delivering what we are best at, we are going to survive in the market. And we should be always benchmarking ourselves with what we have done the last year to improve ourselves, and just keep on focusing on the work that we do.
Right.
On a lighter note, my organization is called Balsus. So I have both advantage as well as disadvantage. People who check me on Google, click on Byju's also.
Good
People
one.
who click on Byju's come to me also. So lighter note, yeah.
The only reason
I'll
tell you why I asked you this question. No? Many a time I get a good idea, then I kill it myself, thinking, oh, somebody has already done it. Yeah. So we should not think like that from hearing all of you. I think there is always a space for yourself. And then I think once you are an entrepreneur and you stay committed to being an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what is the business. So the business can keep flipping based on what opportunity you see next. So if you find Byju has eaten into your market, you will still adapt and do something else. That's what an entrepreneur is. So like Peter Drucker used to say, the business of business is to stay in business. I think the business of entrepreneur is to stay an entrepreneur. Yeah. So that should be interesting. I think there's a question here from Samidha. She says, can we have something like a side business? So you're still working somewhere and then you have, let's say, a cloud kitchen or some such thing, or you're making home baked cakes or some such thing. I think there are a lot of students that I know do that, but is it a very viable proposition? Is it a scalable thing that you can do?
So according to me, I think you can. So at the cost of your Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, so don't expect any Amazon Prime videos. Don't expect any Netflix is happening. Don't expect any Game of Thrones space for you guys. So yes, you lose out on your, when you do that, you lose out on a lot of your personal space. So it's all about, how you're able to manage your time. So yeah, if someone says yes, someone says no, I don't think it will matter. If you're able to take out time, and it's like a hobby, you are very clear about it. You know that you will spare time for it no matter what comes. So if you're, as long as you're able to do that, you should, and you should go ahead with that. I think that's how I would state it.
Right.
The point here is talking about corporate career along with a corporate career. So there is a conflict of interest point which he needs to check it out, because the time committed to that particular organization, if he is trying to steal that time and doing into this, that's a problem. And as probably as Shirish put, Saturday, Sundays is available, then you can actually do it. Very much possible.
But it's possible.
But at the same time, being an entrepreneur and I'm also mentoring few businesses in Madurai. I keep talking about single point focus. Have a single point focus. If you have 4 focuses, then you will only give 25% to all businesses. Instead, have a single point focus. In that single point focus, you can have few things, smaller things. So with that, you can move forward.
So it could be probably part of a discovery phase where you are sort of experimenting and finding out, is there an opportunity? And once you strike it, then maybe you want to quit your job and get full time.
So sir, to answer Samida's question also, and to give her an real life example. So I've done the exactly similar thing which she has asked. So while I was doing my corporate thing with Tata and Future Group, there used to be weekends where all my friends used to enjoy. They used to have a Friday night, but I used to be someone Saturday morning, 8 hours Saturday, 8 hours of lecture, Sunday 8 hours of lecture. That is something which I primarily used to enjoy it. So having a side business should always be focused with the objective of having a passion towards it and enjoying that time frame, and just not with a focus ki I want to have some monetary benefits. Then the side business has a very short term value. But when you do a side business with an aim that you are actually enjoying it, you have a passion towards it, you never know when that side business might turn into your primary business and you might quit your job.
True. Very true.
And additionally, if you have some supporting hands, as already delegation has come into picture in the discussion, right? I'm not talking about delegation per se, but in general, if you have some 2-3 supporting hands, then it will, a single point focus, as Bala sir was talking about, that also will not be completely lost. So this person can focus on the job as well as on the business, because there are other hands to support it. So that can be, it can be leveraged that way. It's better.
Right. So one other intermediary step that one could look at is maybe some sort of a consulting assignment. If you get, then you're spending only 3 days a week there. So the balance time then you could devote to developing your startup or whatever. So that's another possibility.
And I guess that the students' life, if the students are asking the question, so this is the right time to get into entrepreneurship, because while doing the projects, they can just showcase in the campus only, and they can get the feel with the prototyping and the experimental time. So don't have to get some extra efforts. So they can do it here only, and it will be a legal thing if they start the entrepreneurship right from here only.
Right.
So starting business early is one big advantage.
Yes.
You have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
There is no opportunity cost involved. That's the biggest advantage. And the flip side is you do not have any experience, so you have to compensate for it.
Yeah.
Age is inversely proportional to risk taking, as you said. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because I think many of these large businesses that we've seen, which in recent times have grown and gone, like Nykas of the world, etc., but they have also at some time had a corporate experience, so they know how big companies work, because the formal way of working is also something which a fresher probably does not know about, and the legal aspects of it. And there are so many dimensions as you grow, some of which you can, of course, hire consultants to do it for you, but your awareness is important about these aspects at least. So, great. I think it was a nice conversation. Is that enough, or there are some more questions? Otherwise, we would.
So I just want to give one last statement for all the students here, is that 2 things they need to keep in mind, and this is my personal experience, and they have to acquire this skill set. One is they have to become adaptive to the technology and get into analytics. Okay, these 2 things are very, very, you need to analyze you should be very good in terms of analyzing your own business. You should be good at that, and you just cannot make an excuse that I'm not comfortable with technology. Technology and analytics go hand in hand with every organization these days, every industry these days. So slowly and gradually get your hands on it. Yeah, that's the last statement from my side.
So anyone else wanting to make a last statement? Yeah, Sahil, go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, just one thing which I would like to share with all the students who wish to be an entrepreneur, and especially being a finance or a marketing major. So there are a lot of students during the campus who says that I will not prefer a sales profile that comes to the campus. There are a lot of times where say we want a marketing role, we want a core finance role, but all the entrepreneurs in the house, sales is something which is going to be extremely important. If you cannot run your own company, if you do not know how do you convince your own customers. See, in entrepreneurship, the most important thing is to set the benchmark for the company. The time you start doing sales, the time you show them that this is how sales is done, is the time when they or themselves will understand. And the most important thing is, why do we need to do sales is because even though you want to be a marketing person, you want to be into the strategy market, you will be never able to make a right marketing strategy until and unless you do not know the ground level. And the ground level understanding will only come when you are actually on the ground, when you do actually sales. So if I have to tell you, I had started my tech space career with doing random 500 cold calling per day, because then that is the time when we understand market. So today, when I, being a young entrepreneur in my company, I have done every job, right from being a cold calling, right from doing sales, right from doing the first calling, pre-sale generation, sales. So if my team member says that in an hour they can do 25 calls, I have that experience and I have that fact. In an hour there can be 40 calls done. So then the part of making strategies and the way you implement, because there are lots of people who know in our age generation who know lots and lots about planning, but when it comes to execution on the ground level, there's lots and lots of difficulties. So the most important thing about developing a strategy is about how do you actually execute it, because all the clients and all the senior people in the industry will always and always judge us on the basis about the execution on the ground level and the turnover and the return on investment that you have for it. Strategies and all, it all good looks on paper, it all good looks to sound. But when it comes to actual execution, it is where all the senior people and all the industry experts are always going to help us and guide us.
Great point. Yeah.
Professor Painse, I want to just quickly add one element to this. A lot of students come and ask, the similar kind of question. One aspect is that of the mental health and well-being, your own well-being in a very competitive world. So a lot of times when you're working in a corporate, and if you do not have experience and you're a fresher, there are a whole lot of challenges. The first 6 months are like almost rediscovering the world again, and you tend to believe that, is this what I really wanted in my life? And if you have some experience, probably you know a few things that you can expect when you enter the corporate world. But nevertheless, what I've seen is that the expectations are almost never always 100% fulfilled from that one corporate job that you have. And I don't think it's fair to also expect that. So if as a student or if as somebody who's working somewhere, you can identify certain areas where you possibly could begin an entrepreneurial venture, 2-3 things happen. A is your mind is refreshed. 2, you meet a different set of people. Otherwise, you're always hobnobbing with the same set of people every day, day in and day out, and looking at the same challenges every day. So if you want to constantly remain creative and bring back some zing even to the current working place, if you can start up an entrepreneurial venture, however small it might be, it could even be a social cause that you want to attach yourself to, it completely enhances your personality. And if you're planning to do this as a student, and which is why they should all take advantage of the 2 years when they can afford to make as many mistakes as they can, it's all the more better, because even if you don't like numbers, even if you don't like technology, when you start up your own venture, you're going to look at all these aspects. And when you start realizing the value that these aspects bring into a business, you now want to learn about it. So if you don't like number crunching, but hey, you're going to have to look at your resources and say how much money you're going to need to start up that small initiative that you have. You're going to go back to your finance class with a lot more interest and really want to understand what's happening. So I think it's a very good way of triggering your mind to become more receptive to what is being taught. If you know technology can grow your business 5 times or grow your initiative 5 times in the next 6 months, imagine the interest with which you will pay attention to all the technology that's happening around you. So I think apart from, like somebody said, if you're looking at it only for the money, well, there are a dozen ways in which you can make it legal, illegal, I don't know. But if you're really looking at creating something of value, I think like the 2 years that you've just bought yourself.
Absolutely. And I think many a time our GCL experience makes them
Yes.
actually realize the importance of the subjects that they are learning, because
Absolutely. Yeah.
it demands all these subjects. I think Rishi
I
was
just
saying
wanted
something.
to add one point,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
I personally believe being an entrepreneur is a journey. I would like to say to all my young entrepreneurs, or you young champ who is just listening to us, and then probably this recordings will be circulated to a few other people also. So I believe if we are considering being an entrepreneur just for a let's say for a fashion purpose, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that won't solve any purpose. So what I have, just a simple personal example, I started my first venture when I was at 19 and it was failed in 6 months. The reason behind the failure was I was not having the experience of anything, although being a business family, but still I was not having that experience. So what I learned from the many failures, and you was also talking about, Bala sir was talking about 2008-9. So that point of year that the many businesses were got failed because of the subprime and the other crisis. So in these phases, I've learned that until unless you are working in a similar domain, you are not spending sufficient time, you're not understanding the value of money, it is very difficult to survive in the longer run. So we all are surviving because we have learned this skill. So being an entrepreneur is just not about idea, it's about idea plus the sustainability and the to sustain in this entire the competitive world that we are facing. Although we have a 140 crore population, but parallelly we have tremendous and immense competition in each and every sector. So you need to consider it as a journey. It should not be considered as a short-term thing.
Yes.
True.
That's so true.
So anybody with any last comment?
One point.
Yeah, Ganesh.
I'll cut it short only in one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're thinking in terms of starting a business, you should ask yourself, for students I'm saying, this one question, ask yourself, if I'm going to launch a product in the market, it could be a concept or it could be a product. If I'm going to do that, why will the customer pay me money?
Simple.
And how much? If you ask yourself this question and try to get an answer to this question, probably you can start in the right direction. You can start thinking in the right direction. As he rightly said right now, right? It's a journey. Entrepreneurship is a journey. So the first step to the journey could be this. Why would somebody pay me money? Because it's not easy to get money out of people's pockets. Let me be very clear about it. Right? Thank you.
I will, so I would just like to add one more point over here. So for all the young entrepreneurs now, guys, just one thing: if you have dreams and if you have passion towards something, so when we are in the age between 25 to 30, we always have the scope of say committing mistakes, following our passion. You follow it for a couple of years. If it does not work, there is nothing to harm about. You're not gonna harm your profile. You can anytime get back to corporate. But this is the time where you can actually give a chance to you. And then, because I have a lot of senior people who are extremely knowledgeable and well talented, but they always say, wish we had taken that chance 10 years back, 15 years back. So every time we always think about it. So I always follow a quote that Sachin Tendulkar had said. It says like, chase your dreams, but never find shortcuts. Chase your dreams, but never find shortcuts. Path may always be difficult, but never give up. So if you have passion towards something, please do it. Well, that's what even I am doing it right now. We might work, we might not work, but that's something that our skill set and our professional attitude will define. But one thing is for sure, 5 years, 10 years down the line, I will never have a regret that I did not follow the passion that I wanted to do in life. That's something which is extremely important.
A motivational quote for all of us entrepreneurs here. A failed entrepreneur is a great asset to an organization. Don't worry. We are more placeable.
Yeah, true.
A lot of experiences to share.
Bilkul, sir.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there a question? No, I think there are no more questions. So I think one of the points which all the panelists made is your curiosity. So students, I think you need to have had a lot more questions to ask because you have a group of people who have started on their own and sustaining all of that. I think.
Can I just add a small point, sir?
Yeah.
Sir? Yeah. One of the data which I read somewhere, this is before COVID, it says that 70% of people who join placements after B school resign from their first job within the 8 months.
Correct.
Dangerous data, shocking data. So my point is, if that is the data, is the true data, then why are we so much worried about the first placement? The companies are going to hire you at any point of time. They have requirements every time. And campus placement is not the end of life. Now we have an option called entrepreneurship, wherein you can also relieve the B school with the headache of placement if you're looking at an opportunity. At the same time, you become a greater asset to the B school. If you're greatly placed, probably yes, you're greatly placed, you will become a 1-year celebrity. But if you're an entrepreneur, there are campuses which has devoted blocks on the name of the entrepreneur alumni, lifelong. So it helps win-win for the B school, for the citizen, for the nation, for the student community also. Just wanted to share that. Yeah.
Very nice.
I love this idea of the block being named after the entrepreneur. I think that should be a great.
That's true. IIT Mumbai has done that for Nandan Nilekani.
Of course. So I'm saying that could be a great.
We will celebrate the highest placement 1 year, probably 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we'll celebrate a great alumni or a great civil services lifelong. Na?
Yeah. I love that thought. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So on that note, shall we close the session? I think it was a very stimulating discussion. Really loved talking to so many entrepreneurs, and
yes, sir.
I think
thank you very much.
At this age, I'm getting some motivation now to start up again. So,
you know, when the
we are equally motivated. I mean, this whole session was so motivating for all of us. In fact, for me, it was really stimulating. Thank you.
The students that you all have probably mentored, and many of them who may be in that class, I don't know. They may have seen a very different side of you in the past, and today possibly they have seen a very different shade of all of you and the journeys that you all have undertaken. So I'm sure it must be a very positive, and inspiring and a very different day for them to know this side or this facet of each one of you. So thank you for taking that time.
Thank you.
Thank all of you once again.
Thank you, Panelists, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lakshmi, for putting it together. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.